Hello everyone, welcome to Skills Academy. Today we are going to learn about the SQL Basics on data manipulation language. Here we are going to see the details of how we can retrieve the data, insert the data, update or delete the data in that given database by using commands like insert, select, update and delete. To start with, let me introduce myself. I'll be your instructor for today. I have over 16 plus years of experience in handling data with different technologies like SQL, SSIS, SSRS, Power BI, ADF, Microsoft Fabric, and many more. You can find my career detail on the given LinkedIn channel. To start with, we have seen earlier about the basics of SQL, a relational databases, then we seen the data types and constraints. And in the last session, we have seen a data definition language. Now consider you have created the database with multiple tables and you want to next is to manipulate the data using DML commands. To start with, let us see what we are going to see today. First, we will see the introduction of data manipulation language. Then we will see select statement. Later, we will see insert statement, update statement, and then a delete statement. At last, we are going to see the best practices and a common type of errors. To start with, DML or data manipulation language is a subset of SQL which deals with manipulating the data in the database. The main DML commands are select, insert, update, and delete. Select is used for selecting a particular data or retrieve a particular data from one or more tables. Insert is used for inserting a data to the table. Similarly, update is used for updating the existing data in a table. And at last, delete is used for deleting the data from the given table. To start with, let us see how we can use select statement. We will see the common syntax of select statement as well. Select statement is one of the most fundamental command in SQL. It is used to retrieve data from the database. Whenever you are dealing with database or if you are dealing as a data engineer, as a data analytics, or as a business analyst, or as a data scientist, all these four roles should be aware of the select statements. Here is a syntax of select statement. Select column 1, comma column 2, and so on from table name where you specify the condition and then group by on column 1, comma column 2 having again a condition on the grouped column and then order by. So how SQL runs in the backend engine. First, from command is used where all the data is collected. Then where condition is applied, where from the data of the table, let's say for example, you are selecting only current year's data. So it will remove all the older year's data from your table data set. And then on that resultant data set, the third command is applied is a group by. So current year's data will be grouped by based on the column 1 and column 2. It could be a month and a customer name. Then fourth, once the data is grouped together, after that, if you are going to apply any aggregate condition like count of customer or count of product or sale greater than sum of sale greater than 50,000, this condition can be applied over here. After that, the select command is used for selecting the required column, and then on top of it, the order by command is executed for sorting the data with the specified list of columns. Now, let us see an example. So, here we are going to retrieve the first name and last name of an employee in the sales department. To do that, what we can do is we can specify select first name comma last name from a table name which is employee where department is sales. When you execute this particular statement, you will get all the list of employees in a company under sales department with their first name and last name. Similarly, if you want to use a join to group multiple tables and then give you the result, you can also do that. But here we are going to understand the basic of the statements. We are going to cover joins in our later sessions. Let us see an insert statement. So insert statement is used to insert data into the table. Now we will see a basic syntax of insert statement as well as we will see some advanced version of it. So in the basic statement or basic syntax, what you do is you write insert into, which is again in syntax or keyword. You specify the table name and the column names. Then you specify the values, and in the round bracket you specify value 1 comma value 2 and so on. So this is the basic statement or basic syntax of using an insert statement. If you have more data or if you want to load data from a different table, in that particular case, what you do is insert into a table name Here, for an example, I have written as table 2. Then you specify column 1, column 2 of table 2. Then in the select statement, you're joining the select statement with the insert. So in the select statement, you add as column 1, column 2 from a table 1. So here you're inserting the data from table 1 to table 2 using select statement and the insert statement together. Now, let us see some example. So as we discussed the simple syntax, you have insert into a table name. You're inserting first name, comma last name, comma department. So here you're using first name as John, last name as Doy, and department as marketing. Now, if you want to have an advanced command, what we can do is insert into a table name, first name, comma last name, comma department, and you are loading the data from the staging table. So this concept is normally used whenever you're using a big project for data warehousing or data engineering or any data science project. There you have to split the data in different stages. Using this statement, all the data from the stage employee table will be inserted to the employee table. Similarly, we have update statement. It is used to update the data from an existing table. The basic syntax is update table. So update is a keyword, set is a keyword, and where is a keyword. So update table name, you have to specify the table name over here. Then you specify column 1 is equal to value 1, comma column 2 is equal to value 2, and so on. You can specify the where condition or you can exclude the where condition. Similarly, you can also use the update statement with a join. So this is an advanced version of an update statement where what you're doing is you're joining table 2 with table 1 on a column. So there should be a common column for joining. It could be a key column, it could be a code column on which you're joining. And then you are updating the data from table 2 to table 1. So here you're using an alias, which is T1, which is table 1. So table 1 will be updated with the values of table 2 wherever the condition is matched. This kind of statements are used whenever you're dealing with the complex update logic. This is normally used for maintaining an SCD in data warehousing or wherever you have to do a bulk update where you take all the update in a temporary table and then based on the join you update those records. Here is an example of updating a department. So we are updating a department of an employee whose last name is Doi to a department called HR. Similarly, there could be a case where You want to update the department or the details from the staging table. So in that case, what you have to do is update and the table which you are going to update, set and the column names which are aligned to them. Then use the from keyword. You provide the table name, a staging table name. Here we are using stage underscore employee as a E2. And then inner join the employee table as a E1. So this employee table is going to be updated with the data of a stage employee table. But we have a join condition where E1 dot employee code is equal to E2 dot employee code. So wherever the records of a stage employee is going to match with the employee table, only those data will be updated from the stage employee table. These kind of examples are used for data warehousing purpose, wherever you're referring the data from staging table and you're updating the main table. Or sometimes whenever you are doing a bulk update, let's say for example, you want to change the location of an employee, or you want to change the level of an employee. So whenever the year end promotion happens, at that point of time, you get the list from a HR saying that these are the codes and these are their designation, new designation you need to update. So for that, you can use it or any similar kind of scenario. Next, we have a delete statement. So the delete statement, I would say, is more risky command in SQL, similar to drop in DDL. So what it do is it removes the data from an existing table. Basic syntax is delete from table name where condition. So delete from is a keyword. You provide the table name and then you provide the condition. If you don't have any condition, you can just directly delete. It will delete all the rows from the given table. Next, here is some advanced syntax of delete. Similarly, we have used for update earlier. How we can do is delete the data from table 1, right? Using from command, we are joining with a table 2, table name 2, st2, and inner join, where you're again specifying a on condition and you're joining this to column. Wherever this match, then only you're deleting the data. Just to give an example, a simple example would be delete from an employee table where last name is dot. In this example, what we will do is we will be deleting the employee with last name as dot. So if we have 10 employees, 10 employees data will be deleted. Now consider a case where you have to delete the data from an employee table whose data is removed from the staging table. So here is an example. You are deleting the data from E1, which is employee 1, employee table. From you are specifying the staging table, you are using a right join where all the data from the right table will be present and only the joining or only the matching records from the staging table will be present. And then you specify a where condition where the employee code is null from E2. E2 is a staging table. I know this is a little complex, but I'm just exclusively using this kind of example in our session that you will understand how complex you can deal with the data when it comes to SQL. If you know different aspect of SQL, you can join them together to perform very complex operations using SQL. Now, to give you more insight, the best practices would be use meaningful alias. Like if you have seen, we have used E1, E2, T1, T2, right? Those are just an example alias, but you can use as stage M1, M1 or stage M and M. Similarly, in the views or in the select command, I would recommend not to use select star. Instead, provide the statement or number of column. In that way, you will be more cautious on which column you're using and which column you're not using. The query will be performed very good if you use a list of column instead of star. Third, you always ensure that you take a backup irrespective of your deleting or updating your data. You always take the backup. Trust me, it's a best practice ever you use in your career. Because what happens is, let's say, for example, you get a mail from HR saying that, okay, you want to update this data. Then after some time, HR realized that, oh, that was some my typing mistake. Then HR again sends the data saying that I need to revert this data and update this data again, a different set of data. So in that particular condition, the backups helps a lot. I myself have done this kind of thing very often, not with respect to HR, a particular I would say, but with respect to any kind of business requirement. Lastly, always test your query in the safest environment like development or test or UAT or pre-prod before deploying your code into production. We call it as a dry run. Even though your query is ready 100%, try to run in at least one environment lower than the production. It could be a pre-prod, it could be a UAT environment, depending upon your organization structure. So here we will see some of the common errors and troubleshootings. Typical error would be a syntax error. So what happens is whenever you're writing a script of an insert, it happens that you miss the comma or in the select also. If you are selecting multiple columns, you miss one comma, which separate the columns. So in that particular case, what happens is instead of 10 columns, you will get 9 columns and you don't see any error. What it will do is wherever you miss the comma, it will give that name as an alias to the previous column. Similarly, check what data type you're using. Sometimes what happens is while inserting the data, you get an error saying data type is not matching. You see your query syntax is correct accurately, but even though you're getting an error, this kind of error happens when you are inserting the data to an numeric or date column and the data type is not implicitly converted. So, for example, you're inserting a number with a space, it will give an error while inserting the data into the numeric column. Similarly, there could be logical error. So, the logical errors are something like you are running a SQL statement, a select statement, and you find that why my result is not giving me so and so number of rows, because there might be a case that you have used wrong join, you have used a wrong join condition or a wrong table to join, you have used a wrong condition to filter out the rows. It can be anything. Sometimes what happens is you use a union statement to join two select statement. In that particular case, what typically happens is the sequence of the column which you specify in the first select query might be different in the second select query. So in that case, the query will give you the result. But if you see my top query results has a date value and the lower query has a numeric value, how could be it possible? So these kind of errors you need to watch whenever you're writing a SQL statements. Troubleshooting mechanism or simple tips I would give is whenever you get a error, it could be a syntax error or it could be an incorrect data type error. I'm not talking about logical errors because logical errors is something that you have to resolve with your experience or with different scenario. Syntax error or a data type error or any other errors, you read the message properly. Whenever you run the statement, you get an error and you need to understand that statement of the message, error message, and then act accordingly. So, for example, you will get an error while inserting a data in varchar 15 if you are entering a longer name in varchar 15. You will get an error that it will truncate your data while inserting. So you need to understand that what exactly that error means. What exactly truncating means. Is it a truncate statement or is it truncating of data or it will just include the 15 character of my length? That you need to understand. Then some missing or incorrect condition. So these kind of thing happens with the logical error. So whenever you see if your data set is not correct, or if your result set is not correct, of or you're updating something wrong or deleting something wrong, in that particular case, it would be you miss something in your join condition or in your filter condition. Make sure you review those before you running the final statement. At last, just verify the data types and constraint on which you're operating the data. So, to conclude today's session, we have covered a basics of data manipulation language with select, insert, update, and delete statement. We have also seen best practices and a common error handling. To give you more reference, you can go through a book called SQL in 10 Minutes, Sam Teach Yourself, and Learning SQL. Also, you can find a SQL documentation on the DBMS provider like MySQL, PostgreSQL, MS SQL, Oracle. Many of them will have. Now, if you have any comments or any questions, you can always reach out to us on inquiry at skillsacademy.com, or you can comment on this video so that we can try to answer it as soon as possible. Thank you. See you in the next class.